We've been hearing about the new Rogue-lite game mode for the Division 2 for what feels like a year. By the way, it's only been 7 months, September 2022, but a lot of expectations and comparisons were placed on the mode before we ever saw it. Would it be an indoor version of Survival 2.0? Would it be the next iteration of Underground from the original Division game? Well, after getting in some time with Descent, I can tell you that it feels like none of those. Based on what I have to work with, what is here in this PTS, Descent is a bit of a mixed bag for me. What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday, it's LtBuzzLitebeer, and welcome back to the channel. Alright, it's time to get brutally honest about Descent. What is working for me and what is not. And full disclosures, before we get into all of this, I know it's the PTS version. Things may change when it goes live, but this is what we have to review, so this version is what I'm going to be reviewing. Things could change in the future, modifications could be made, pieces added, removed, etc., possibly based on feedback like this, so here it is. Stability is first off, and knock on wood, I've been pleasantly surprised here. Whereas the live version of the game has been hit or miss ever since Season 9 went live, Descent has pretty much been rock steady for me. No crashes, frame rates are pretty stable, I played solo, I played in party, no real issues to report here. And thinking on this point, I don't know if I should be giving this so much attention, but the last year has been one continuous crash fest for me on PC, and so, yeah, I guess Descent deserves the recognition of not continuing that trend, at least not for me. Now when it comes to these dungeon crawl type modes, it's crucial to get the vibe, what's the word I'm looking for, the ambiance of the environment on point, and here's where Descent is mixed for me. I dig this whole Matrix simulation kick, almost like laser tag, but for Division agents, and I could live with it, even embrace it, if it weren't down to sizable design flaws. Now the chambers themselves are pulled out of Division missions, and many of them are instantly recognizable, and I really like that aspect. You've got some space administration, Potomac, underground bunker, there's even that sound stage from Stolen Signal. It's all going on here, and somewhat reimagined. But once you play through Descent, you see the huge issues with the chambers and the design of the game. Every room is either a square or rectangle, with mostly unobstructed views across the entire chamber. You can see every portion of the rooms. There's no guessing or need for recon because you see the enemies coming a mile away. And two more points about Descent, and I wanted to compare it again to Underground for this portion. Number one is that there's no CQC or close quarters combat. The rooms are wide open with those incredible sightlines. There's no sense of claustrophobia or distress at what could be waiting for you on the next door frame, and so then it becomes this shooting range just with moving targets. Number two is the lighting effects and the overall brightness of Descent. It's just far too strong and forgiving. Every nook and cranny are visible from any position you choose to take in a chamber. Again, very little tension is created when you see everything clear as day. And a bonus point I decided to tack on, so this is number 3. Each and every chamber gives you a full readout of what to expect on the other side. Difficulty, any environmental concerns, shock, poison gas, etc. And for me, it's too much intel. It takes away from the uncertainty of what's on the other side waiting for you. Next up are the basics of the Descent mode itself, which is a strong hell yeah from me. You know I love survival from the original game, especially that aspect of starting from scratch, and here in Descent that idea is again embraced. The way it adds in weaponry and skills based on a shade terminal and RNG is really interesting. You never know what weapons or skills the game might offer up to you. Having the ability to steadily increase your agent's arsenal and reserves like more ammo and medkit capacity through the accumulation of this NSA currency, again, I love it. Now, where Descent is truly unique is in the build crafting. No gear sets, no brand set bonuses, no heavy thinking. Just clear out a chamber, hit the terminal, and see what talents you have to pick from and add to your character. And this is the absolute strongest portion of Descent. This limitless build crafting you can stack onto your agents is insane, whereas the base game limits that player power fantasy. As an example, one backpack talent at a time, you can only have Composure, or Companion, or Vigilance. Well, here in Descent, you can have all of them at once. Unhinged, Allegro, Glass Cannon, you name it. And if the Shade Terminal gives you the option of a duplicate, you can still select it, taking the effects of the talents to even greater heights. Overall, this portion of Descent is sick. I love it. Now, the rest of the mode needs to be built around it to match. Next up are two items that were just driving me freaking nuts as I played through Descent. And first up are these damn spawn doors. Until you get a bit further up through the mode and start seeing multiple spawn waves, man, these doors with the hatching on them is just a terrible design idea. You have 10 seconds to jog around the room, see the doors with the matrix markings on them, choose your spot to set up, and away you go. It takes 100% of the guesswork out of the equation. That does change up a bit later in the mode when multiple spawn waves start entering the chamber, but it feels like too much, what's the word I'm looking for here? Hand-holding? I get it that the mode is designed to give everyone something to challenge them, but doors all but lighting up and screaming, "Over here, shoot at me!" Again, too much. And my second point here, which kind of ties into the first, is that there doesn't seem to be enough of a lockout mechanism for the game to match chamber sizes with factions. Hear me out. Several times I've been stuffed into a small Potomac chamber and then had wave after wave of suicide rushers come running at me from every angle. Now there's difficulty and then there's just ridiculous situations. It doesn't happen all the time. Again, it feels randomized. But when you get a bit later up into the game and you just killed the entire first spawn wave and then the second wave runs out of a door 5 feet behind you in a small chamber and there's something like 3 suicide rushers stacked on top of each other, I tend to call that a bit excessive. Okay, so I've laid out some positives, some negatives, some middle of the roads, but I wanted to end with this. Based on what I am seeing from what is available here in this PTS, I personally don't see this mode as having staying power. Now, I'm sure plenty of people will immediately call it Summit 2.0, and it does share many similarities to that mode, but I would characterize Descent in a better starting place than the high-rise grind. The problem here with Descent is that there's nothing to do outside of shoot and gain talents. I would love to have seen some special cosmetics, commendations, achievements, maybe Descent-only gear, either earned or purchased with Descent-only economy. There's no lore, there's no real tie-ins to the game. One of its strengths is how different and removed from the base game it truly is, but that sword has another edge in that it feels so removed from the rest of the base game. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say there. Now, maybe these are items that are actually planned for the live launch. I don't know. And if not, they need to be added to the to-do list immediately. Other things like targeted loot XP earned for brand and gear sets, or expertise levels, especially because the mode hurls some weapons and skill combos at you that you would never consider using. But from what I'm able to see here in the PTS, as much as it pains me to say, I see people trying out Descent, maybe for a week or two, maybe a month, maybe 2, seeing how far they can get before dying, putting it down and moving on, only occasionally coming back over to give it another go. The bones are here, especially that unlocked build crafting. It just needs all the extra bolt-ons to be as wild and unchecked as possible. As always, I look forward to reading your feedback on Descent. Overall, I felt that was tough, but fair. Let me know what you thought of the critique. If you happen to like the video, maybe consider hitting subscribe, and while you're at it, make sure to ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. You can find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and over in my open community Discord server, links to all of which can be found in the video description and pinned comments below. Shout out to the over 118,000 of you that have taken the leap and hit subscribe, and as always, a massive thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.